Our movie today begins at a pancake restaurant in the city of Yongcheon. At the same time, we meet Young, the mother and owner of this restaurant. While walking through the market, she hears someone shouting about a good deal, so she rushes over, thinking she just landed the deal of a lifetime. Meanwhile, her husband, Suk, is collecting Pepsi bottles, hoping to win a trip to Hawaii. We learn he also owns a repair shop. Inside that shop, May, by chance, opens a Pepsi bottle, and she's the one who wins the trip he's been dreaming about. Suk is overjoyed, jumping up and down with excitement, thrilled that they'll finally be going to Hawaii. The next day, May is completely against traveling. She doesn't want to shut down the restaurant. And besides, if they travel, where will the money come from? Since they're short on cash, she decides to sell the ticket online and buy a washing machine instead. At that moment, their daughter Nari walks in. May discovers through the school group that Nari hit one of her classmates. When she asks her why, Nari shouts that she hates ballet. Her classmate kept teasing her, saying she looked like the wrestler Sumo. She tells her mom she wants to do taekwondo instead and doesn't like ballet at all. May wants to hit her, but Nari says she doesn't like their life. Her friends tease her for being the pancake girl, and all of them have phones and go on trips while she doesn't. Later that night, while Nari is sleeping, her mother overhears her whispering that she wishes she could travel. May immediately changes her mind. She and her husband decide not to take that away from her and to make her happy. They decide not to sell the ticket anymore and will go on the trip. May agrees to close the shop and travel. On the day of the trip, in Suk's neighborhood, May closes the pancake shop and bids farewell to neighbors and friends. They give Nari some spending money, and she thanks them. Suk wants to take a taxi, but May refuses. They take a bus to save money, but that almost makes them miss their flight. Luckily, they just make it in time. Meanwhile, we shift to a gang near the airport. Their leader, Shul, instructs them to speak only in Chinese during the flight and explains that they're targeting a specific policewoman. He tells them not to act recklessly. He wants the woman captured, not killed. That policewoman turns out to be May. We learn there's a long-standing vendetta between her and the gang that goes back 11 years. May was once an undercover officer, but she changed her identity and location to live peacefully away from trouble. But it seems her past is about to catch up with her. Back at the airport, Suk's family arrives late, and the check-in counter is about to close, but they manage to get in. However, only 2 seats are left in first class, and 1 in economy. May and her daughter take first class, and Suk is left in economy. After taking her seat, May asks for food. When Young, a crew member, brings it, he accidentally drops the plate, but she catches everything with lightning reflexes. Young is stunned by her quick reaction. Then the head stewardess, Yoon, calls him out, thinking he's bothering the passengers. He tells her in awe that May is the mayor of Yongcheon, but Yoon dismisses that, saying she's just a housewife sitting in business class, and tells him to switch places with GU in economy. Before he leaves, she warns him she'll be watching him for the rest of the flight. In economy, Suk chats with the man next to him. Being overly social, he ends up annoying the man, who internally regrets, telling Suk they should chat to pass the time. Meanwhile, May keeps eating until she gets bloated and runs desperately around the plane looking for a bathroom. They're all occupied. She runs to Suk and asks him to sit with Nari because she can't hold it in anymore. On her way, Young stops her to chat again, offering to help if she needs anything. May brushes him off and hurries past. Along the way, she spots the gang pretending to wait in line for the bathroom. But let's leave them for now. Back to Young. He overhears the gang saying, "Let's do it," and immediately rushes to warn Yoon. She scolds him, telling him to stop fooling around and to make sure everyone is wearing their seat belts. She threatens to fire him if he doesn't shut up. But just as she says this, the gang launches their attack, gathers all passengers in one spot, and takes control of the plane. The intelligence agency is alerted that the plane has been hijacked. They hold an emergency meeting and after a long discussion, they thank God one of their agents is on board. They must find a way to reach him and get details from the inside. Back to May, who's in the bathroom. One of the gang members hears her and knocks. As she opens the door, he tries to stab her, but she hits him with a karate move that drops him in seconds. Suddenly, we hear a voice. It's the agency contacting her. It's now confirmed that May is actually Joy, a retired secret agent who disappeared 11 years ago. We shift to the gang again, who mistakenly believe that Cira, another passenger, is the agent they're hunting. But Cira is actually a famous actress, and her presence shocks everyone on the plane. One of the gang members is so starstruck that he even asks her for a selfie, until Shul gets irritated and tells him to shut up. The whole plane descends into chaos, not because of the hijacking, but because everyone's in awe of Cira. At that moment, a member of the National Assembly on board complains loudly that nobody has ever been excited to see him like this. Just then, the gang falls silent. Meanwhile, all the passengers are too busy taking pictures of Cira to remember they're being held hostage. Suk, trying to find May, stumbles upon a laptop and sneaks into the aircraft's engine area. He opens the camera system to try and locate his wife. Back in the cabin, one of the gang members tries to take the passenger list from Young. May suddenly drops down from above, takes out the thug in a swift move, and warns Young to keep it a secret. She tells him not to be so easily impressed every time he sees her. She then asks how many gang members there are. He tells her 10. She asks for the passenger list, and though Young hesitates, claiming it's confidential, he eventually hands it over. May burns the part of the list with the names and says they're going to save the plane. She changes into a flight attendant uniform to stay undercover, and Young, thrilled, declares they're now a team. He says he's always dreamed of being a secret agent, and that now it's his time to serve the country. He promises to get weapons stored on the plane, and tells May that if anyone gets close to his neck, he'll strike fast. May agrees and encourages him. He's free to take down anyone who threatens him. May then heads out to confront the gang. One of them stops her, asking where she's been. She tells him he's just an amateur. He tries to grab her, but she unleashes her combat skills again and floors him in seconds. Back to Young. He heads below deck and finds Suk. Mistaking him for a gang member, he nearly attacks him, but Suk punches him first and knocks him aside. Then Suk starts using the laptop to communicate with the intelligence agency, and it's revealed that Suk himself is a retired agent too. The agency initially doesn't want to let him get involved, but Suk replies sarcastically, wondering if they still think he's one of them. He decides to do what he thinks is right. Meanwhile, May continues, taking out the gang one by one. At one point, her daughter Nari sees her, so May quickly puts on a mask to hide her identity. She defeats another gang member, but is stunned when Nari, still unaware of the truth, says she admires this mysterious woman and thinks she's her new favorite hero. We jump back to Young and Suk. When Young tells May they have a third agent on board, none of them realize they're all talking about each other. Suk begins explaining his plan. They need to gather intelligence from the enemies and secure a way for the hostages to escape. As he begins listing his third point, May cuts him off internally, thinking to herself, "This guy is definitely not normal. His wife must be suffering." She doesn't realize yet that he's her husband. Young, full of curiosity, asks about the third point, but after getting a weird look from Suk, he apologizes and runs away, pretending he has something urgent to do. Suk, now frustrated, mutters that everyone should just work in their own way and continues trying to control the plane. The pilot, under Shul's orders, is told to follow the exact route. But the pilot confesses that manual controls aren't functioning and he doesn't know what to do. Shul opens a camera feed and sees Suk messing with the plane's controls, so he sends one of the gang members to take care of him. Back with May, one of the gang finally realizes who she really is. He tells her they knew she'd resurface and starts attacking. As he fights her, he questions why she's hiding her face and rips off her helmet. He mocks her age, calling her a middle-aged woman. May responds with sarcasm, then proceeds to beat him into the ground. Suddenly, Shul appears and tells May that no amount of surgery or disguise would keep him from recognizing her. Just as May is about to reply, Suk enters the scene, shocked by what he's seeing. He asks what she's wearing but adds, "You actually look great in it." May denies being who they think she is and says Suk has got the wrong person. Shul realizes that Suk is an intelligence agent and that May has been under his protection. At that moment, another agent throws a knife at Shul, but May catches it midair, saving him. However, the gang manages to tie up both May and Suk and drags them into the main cabin in front of the passengers. May looks at her daughter for a long moment, silently signaling her to stay calm and use her brain. Nari, being smart, understands. Young, witnessing May, and Suk, being restrained, doesn't know what to do, whether to act or stay put. Meanwhile, Nari is with Bill, the older man who had been chatting with Suk earlier. Bill tries to comfort her, saying everything will be okay, but Shul sees her crying and asks, "Why are you crying?" She says she's fine and that she's not crying. He asks who she's traveling with. She points to Sira and says, "That's my mom." Everyone is stunned. Sira immediately denies it, saying she's not Nari's mother. Even the director on board is shocked. "You have a daughter? Impossible," he exclaims. Sira desperately tells Nari, "Honey, I'm not your mom." But all the passengers begin whispering. How could Sira have hidden this all these years? Nari interrupts, pleading, "Mom, please stop this." Sira tells her again that she's not her mother. She's single and childless, but no one believes her. Nari continues speaking passionately, saying, "You want me to lie and say I don't have a mom? I'm not going to lie. You're my mom. I'm upset and hurt." She runs into her mother's arms and whispers, "Help me, I have no one else but you." Sira, finally moved, admits to Shul that she is indeed Nari's mother. The director faints from the shock. We return to May and Suk. May confronts him. "So you really lied to me. You were actually working with the National Intelligence Agency. Why didn't you tell me such a big secret?" Suk replies, "I was only with them for a short while." May then accuses him, "So you were spying on me too?" Suk confesses, "Honestly, yes, at the beginning I was watching you." That admission brings May to tears, but Suk gently reminds her, "Remember that day with the iron skewer? I was filling in for a friend. You were there. Some guys came at me, and you stepped in. You told them, 'She's a civil servant. Don't you dare mess with poor people. Get lost. I never want to see your faces again.' Then you turned to me and asked if I was okay. I still remember you suddenly showing up and handing me that chicken skewer you made. People said you were scary, but you weren't. You had light shining from your face. That day, I knew you were my missing half, the one I couldn't live without." He continued, "I was no longer with the agency when we met. You saw me as a decent man, and that's what I was." May asked, "So you really don't care that I was an undercover agent?" Suk replied, "Of course I don't. I don't care who you were, what you did. You're my wife, the mother of my daughter. You're my whole world." May smiled and said, "Honey, I want to see your face now. Turn around and show me." But suddenly, they heard a strange sound. When they turned, they saw a man tied up, fast asleep. Back to the director, Sira, and the passengers. One of the director's crew asks, "Aren't we supposed to use this knife we brought? Or did we just bring it for show?" The director agrees and uses it to free the flight attendants and passengers. Just then, one of the gang members walks in and asks what they're doing. The passengers quickly jump him and knock him out. But right after, another gang member enters, unfazed, and tells them to sit back down. The man entered the cockpit area where Chul was and refused to follow orders, saying May was his real fiancée, and he planned to escape with her, even if it meant crashing the plane with everyone else. Chul warned him it was a civilian flight, but the man didn't care. When Chul tried to fight back, One of the gang members pulled a gun and tied him up near the captain. The gang leader then forced the pilot to lower the plane to 8,000 feet. To calm the passengers, the captain made an emergency announcement while the head flight attendant rushed through the cabin, telling everyone to fasten their seatbelts. Nari asks Sira, "Are we going to die?" Sira answers, "No, sweetie, we're not going to die." Nari then asks if Sira knows martial arts or anything. She wants to save her mom and dad. Sira replies, "That only happens in movies, honey. All the action is just acting. The only real thing in movies is my face." Back to May and Suk. Shul is tied up and thrown next to them. They ask him sarcastically, "Aren't you the leader? How did this happen to you?" But before he could respond, the plane makes a sharp drop. Everyone crashes into each other, barely able to breathe. Shul, unfazed, continues, "My men betrayed me. They turned on me." Soon after, May and Suk manage to untie themselves with help from someone on the outside. Young and Suk head to the controls to try and stabilize the plane. Shul tells May that history is repeating itself. "You were always the one who had our backs," he says. May snaps back, "I protect my husband and daughter now. That's it." May and Suk head out to fight the gang. Nari sees her mother in action and proudly declares, "That's my mom." The other passengers join the fight. Afterward, May checks on Nari and reassures her everything will be fine. She tells her not to be afraid, that she'll deal with the bad guys and come back safely. Bill convinces Nari to come with him to find her parents, and she agrees. They find May, Suk, and Shul arguing again. Suk yells at Shul, "Don't ever talk about my wife again. Keep her name out of your mouth. Respect her. She's older than you." Suddenly, a gang member storms in, holding Nari hostage, and fires his gun. He asks how they managed all this brilliance with just their minds. He looks at May and says, "If you want to save your daughter, come with me. Put on this parachute." May agrees to go with him if he lets Nari go. To scare her, he says the plane will explode soon and they'll all die. May stands firm, saying his threats don't mean anything. But when he threatens Suk, she panics and agrees. As he lets Nari go, May hugs her tightly and whispers something in her ear. Then, calmly, she walks with the man toward the plane's exit. At the door, Nari throws her teddy bear to May, who uses it to knock the man out of the plane. Finally, everyone is safe. The rest of the gang grabs parachutes and escapes. Suk, it turns out, had a bulletproof vest on and wasn't hurt. All the passengers are safe, thanks to May. The captain regains control of the aircraft and safely brings them home. And with that, the film ends. If you've made it this far, don't forget to like the video and leave us a nice comment. And if it's your first time watching us, subscribe to the channel for more upcoming recaps. See you next time.